Gentlemen, happy St. Patty's Day.
Sup, everybody?
Cheers to you.
Top of the morning to you.
Just to you.
So before we get into the show tonight, which we'll talk about in a minute, I would just like to say I am drinking a glass of wine, and I got to tell the story of where it came from. Okay? So this is the only alcohol I have in my house, by the way. So me and my wife are like, oh, let's just drink it, and it'll be house will be empty. So I have a Dollar General right down the street from my house, which we go there for odd and ends, right? Just bounce in there, get something, get out of there real fast, whatever. Twice I've been there that I go there, and they have this self-checkout that's new, but I don't ever use it. I go check out with a person. I just prefer that. Well, twice I've checked out, and I'm the kind of person, I don't know about y'all, but when I check out, I always just throw the receipt away because I'm like, I don't feel like dealing with that. I just trash it right at the trash can on the way out.
Yeah.
Well, the last time I walked out of there, I had bought a bottle of hot sauce because I was like cooking chicken wings. And so I like to buy my own like wing sauce, mix it with butter, garlic, make my own spread and dip them. You know what I'm saying? Do my thing, my Cajun thing.
I'm getting a little hungry now.
So I did that. And I thought I was on the way out and the lady's like, wait, you forgot a bag. And I was like, oh, the hot sauce. So it was a big bottle. And I was like, okay, grabbed it, put it in the car, drove home. I get home. I'm cooking, ain't got no time to move, stuff like that. And what do you know? I unbox the bags, and there's a bottle of wine. And I'm thinking to myself, did I buy that bottle of wine? I'm not really sure because I don't have a receipt.
Wait, hold up. Back it up. What store is this again?
The Dollar General.
Oh, my God.
So I don't know.
Do not drink that.
I don't know if I bought the bottle or didn't buy the bottle. I really don't know. So I'm like, well, maybe it's a sign.
Oh,
maybe
man.
the sign is I was supposed to drink this glass of wine right here on St. Patty's Day for the show.
It's St. Patty's, man. When in Rome, right?
That's
not Irish.
That's my alcohol story for the night.
I
Beat that.
got nothing.
Oh, I got some stories, but I can't tell them here.
All right, Eric. Introduce everybody to the show.
Hey, everybody, this is the show.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. That guy over there, that's Chris. Next to me, the guy down there, that's Mike Cianfrocco, Chris Hughes. I'm Eric Kaiser, and we make up the grapevine. Most of the time we're, here. Sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're traveling. You never know. Chris and I were just at the ACA show this past weekend, the ACA conference down in Florida.
Physically and mostly mentally.
Yeah, nobody invited me.
The heck we didn't.
All right.
Hey, I got to see Russ King and Connor King. I went to that training class at FSEC. Yeah, FSEC.
How was that?
Yeah, man.
Did you learn anything?
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what. There was a really
calc, bro.
There was a really good panel discussion that happened with Brian Orr, Alex Meany, and Dustin Cole that I sat in on, and it was juicy, right? I know Dustin really well, and I've seen him on stage, and I knew that if I piqued his interest with a really difficult question right out the gate, I would get him talking. And so I made sure I sat in on that class and just was like, wham, hit him with it, and like let him just ramble. And boy, did he ramble. And I'm telling you, if you weren't sitting in that class, you missed out. You missed out on something big if you were there. And,
Is there any way we could see this?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be nice.
I don't know if they recorded any of those or not. There were some video cameras in a few of the rooms, but I wasn't in that room, so I'm bummed now. I missed it.
I would say panel discussions are definitely the heavy hitter right now. Like that's what people are into, and I'm into it. I like it, man. It's unscripted. Any questions go, and you're getting just straight up answers by some. They're like, I don't know, let's talk about it, and you work it out on stage.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
a
that's
lot.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm totally digging those. Speaking of people who would be good on panels, we have a guest tonight, and this guest has a lot of experience on the manufacturer side. So he's going to talk to us about how products get made. Let's bring on Tony Gonzalez, Mr. Fieldpiece himself.
Tony.
Hey, representing. What's up, everybody?
Are you covering up the Fieldpiece tattoo up here? You got the hat on
Yes.
tonight, hiding that
Yeah,
tattoo?
I am. I want to keep it kosher and straight line today. So,
All right.
So Tony,
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, welcome to
my
the show.
pleasure.
Dude,
So-
take us. Go ahead.
So-
I mean, you rip and run. Dude, don't even have to be introduced. Take it, Tony.
I
Go.
mean, exactly. So, I mean, just to jump on that point, as far as panels are concerned, the Grapevine is kind of a panel, right? It's unscripted. We talk about certain topics. Chat comes in with their questions, and we have a discussion. So that
a good
fits
point.
right along that line of what you're talking about.
I
Good
like
point,
it.
man.
Cool.
So,
And Eric keeps us in line.
yeah.
You're funny.
Tony, I would.
I'm the first one to dive down every rabbit hole that comes. Well, okay, maybe not every rabbit hole, but
Yeah,
a lot of
about
rabbit
yeah.
Sometimes
Tony,
you have to
tell us
appreciate a
about
good rabbit hole.
I feel like before we jump into this, we got to know. I want to hear the Tony Gonzalez story. Where does it start? Where does it get us to?
Man, how much time do we have on this show?
No.
I'll give you 5 minutes.
So, I mean, back in 1979, I believe, my father had a twinkle in his eye and took my mother out on a date, I'm assuming.
79 was a good year, man.
And magic happened. No, so I was recently asked, what was I doing before Fieldpiece? And I said, I was a senior in high school. That's basically what I was doing before Fieldpiece. Graduated high school. I was waiting for college to start. And my aunt worked for this company called Fieldpiece back in the late 90s and said, since you're waiting for college to start, at the company where I'm at, there's an opening in the warehouse. Do you want to take that opening and make some money? I'm like, sure, why not, right? Just thinking it's just some temporary job. Take it, there were like 8 people, part of the whole company at the time. Fieldpiece was started in 1990, so it was about 8 years in. And basically everybody other than my aunt was probably a member of the family that still owns the company today. And so I've been with them ever since 1998. So we're at 20 something years. And then they asked me, how can you be with the same company for so long? Well, actually, I've done so many different things since I've been with Fieldpiece that it's never been where I've been bored, right? So I started in the shipping and receiving warehouse, packaging up boxes. See, so for those that are in shipping nowadays, these were the days of UPS where there were no computers. You had a book and you had to write in all the addresses, right? Every single time on the shipping labels, pull the stickers yourself, put them on. None of this where everything is automated now and electronic, and they got robots basically doing everything. So that's how long, that was. Then out of that for a couple years, and then I went into technical support after a couple years of doing that. Took phone calls, to help people out in the field, things like that. And when I was in that position, we would get stuff back out from the field, right? Because, naturally stuff breaks over time. And I realized that we didn't keep track why things were coming back, right? We would get a broken thing, kind of look at it. If we couldn't fix it, we would just swap out a replacement. But there was no tracking of any of these things. So I thought, it's probably a good idea if we kind of understand why these things are coming back. And if there are patterns, we can fix them in manufacturing before they even go out. So cool. I started this Microsoft Access file, I guess, which is the database file, right? And that was the starting of the Fieldpiece quality program 20-something years ago.
That is freaking awesome, dude.
Of just tracking why stuff came back. And at that time, we were basically all meters, right? Because what most people think of fieldpiece now, they think of manifolds, maybe they think of probes, maybe they think of pumps.
That's
whatever.
what I think. I think of field piece. Voltage testers. Yeah.
Yeah. So fieldpiece started on meters.
Oh,
right?
the stick meter, bro.
Meter.
Where is it? Where'd it go?
Yeah.
I had the subcool one. I had you swap it out.
Right, exactly.
The HVAC guide I had. That's what I had.
HVAC guide. Okay. So yeah, stick meter with these different heads that pop on and measure like humidity or pressure or just whatever the case may be.
Yep.
We like made up a term called modular expandability. And that's what that was.
Right.
That's right. It was just popping all those heads on out of there. Anyways, so kept track of that, did that for a couple of years, and found some good product or problems, patterns, helped our products become, more sure, solid.
The boss must have loved that.
Absolutely. But then it started getting really big. And I didn't want to do quality for my whole life. That's not what I was looking to do. All right. What's going on, Chris?
What do you mean by pretty big, Tony?
As in quality is actually a profession, and people actually go to school to learn methodologies and processes like Six Sigma, KT, problem analysis, all that kind of stuff that fieldpiece was getting to a size where I just did not want to dedicate myself to that. And so it didn't interest me. And so we sought someone who came from a background of quality that had all that experience, brought them in. I trained them up for like a few months. And then I went to my next job at fieldpiece, which was like a product tester and then quickly a product developer. So I was a product developer for fieldpiece for 10, 12 years, have a hand in developing many of the current products that we use now, like the manifolds, the probes, scales, right? Whatever the case may be. And I really cut my teeth on the way we think on how to develop a product. And I did that for about 10 to 12 years. And I know we'll get into that more in a second, but just to jump forward, about 2020, the owner of the company kind of stepped down from the day-to-day, and he hired an individual to take over as CEO of fieldpiece. And what he saw was that fieldpiece did not have a training department at that time. And so he came from an experience in manufacturing where the company had training and training was important. And so even though I was a product developer, if there were conferences like HVAC Excellence or ACA or something like that, where like a presentation was needed, I would be the one that would go and do it because I do enjoy training. I love presenting, training, talking, all that kind of stuff. And so what I didn't know early on was that when he first came on, he actually followed me on a couple of my trips and just kind of see like how he trained and like all that stuff.
That's cool.
Kind of vetting to see like if I would be the person that would step in to do our whole training. And I guess he liked what he saw because, he had a conversation with me and asked me if I wanted to start something brand new at fieldpiece, a training department, and never been done before over at fieldpiece. And I said, absolutely. As long as we understand one thing is I have zero experience in creating a training department.
Right.
If we understand
set those expectations, right? There you go.
Set the expectations right. As long as we understand that and you're willing to have me learn and do all those things. And that's been really great at fieldpiece over these years is because we were small, we were always put into places where we were not, what's the word? It's something we weren't ready for. We like didn't have the qualifications. We didn't have the experience to get put into position that we put into. Every position I got put into, if I were to apply for that position somewhere else at the time, they would have been like, dude, you have zero experience in this. Why are you even doing that?
8 years in college type stuff.
All that type of stuff, but the owner of fieldpiece, believed in the people that were there.
Dude, he came to the symposium one year and he's super down to earth, man. Like,
exactly.
I'm like, that's the owner? The nice guy over there? Usually, the head boss is like this real pompous type jerk, You see him, you see like the Comparettos, like there's like they're nice guys. I'm shocked, you know.
Yeah.
So like that's
No, for
cool,
sure.
man. He brought people, within the business and brought them up. That's kind of rare. That's
Yeah,
really
for sure.
interesting.
And so I said, yes, I'll do this. 3 weeks later, after that, in 2020, COVID shut down the world, and it really put a hamper on me getting out there and started training people, right?
Yeah.
But actually, now looking back at it, I think it was a blessing in disguise. In the only aspect of it gave me time to just really think, okay, what do I want to do with this training department? What's important? What's our mission? What do we want to do? What's the content we want to create? And it really gave me some time to lay a foundation. And now we're 3 and 4 years in. I have 3 trainers on my training team that are in different parts of the country that go out and do training. We have Fieldpiece University. At a very high level, what the Fieldpiece training department does is we train contractors and technicians on best practices, on how to do their jobs easier, faster, and better. For example, we don't have a training class on vacuum pumps. We have a training class on system evacuation. So regardless of what vacuum pump you use, if you come to one of our classes, you're going to learn about best practices. You're going to learn about how to increase flow. You're going to learn how to have a proper setup. And that's what I felt was important, not to have a sales pitch in our training, but it was educational, best practices. And that's what we've been doing, since day one. It's been a great ride, and I really enjoy what I'm doing.
Dude, that's so freaking cool, man. I mean, he's telling a story like right out of high school. I'm like, man, I don't get jealous much, but yeah, that would be really cool. Like right out of high school to work for Fieldpiece. I didn't know you guys were so young. Like the company, because when I was green in a trade, early 2000s, I was like, Fieldpiece seems to be like the HVAC tool company. It's like you guys focus more on HVAC, and I was like, and you guys got all those. What would you guys call it again? The intermodular head, with the meter.
Modular
Accessory heads.
Yeah.
So
when that came out, I was like, whoa.
Heads.
Yeah. Yep. I was like, I'm all on.
The Fieldpiece meter guy. I still got my Fieldpiece meter. My first meter ever was a UEI. Don't judge me.
No, no judgment at all.
I was in trade school, didn't have a lot of money, started there.
Yeah.
Really inexpensive one, it got me through. And then, it wasn't long after that. I don't remember the model number, but it was the Fieldpiece one. But it was kind of a basic model, no light, on the back screen or anything like that. But it had all the features you needed, the basic features. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
yeah. Michael,
still got my HS36 kicking out there.
Yeah.
It hadn't been out in a while.
That was one of our first true RMS meters and auto ranging. So that was 20-something.
That's a big jump.
Yeah,
so
that was.
Oh, go ahead, guys.
We did a lot of the ECMs in our furnaces, so we had to have in our air handlers, so we had to have a true RMS meter to be able to work on them. It's pretty much a requirement in the trade today. I'm actually surprised there's still a few companies. I mean, you guys, the HS33 is non-true RMS, right?
Yeah. So really, when it comes to what are technicians buying now, clamp meters versus stick meters, it is all swapped over to the clamp meter market. And, sales of stick meters have gone tremendously down. And it's funny that you say that about how true RMS is pretty much table stakes nowadays. Is about 4 or 5 years ago, we had 9 SKUs of our clamp meters, but we took out everything that was not true RMS and whittled it down to 4 or 5 SKUs that we currently have now as far as the clamp meters are concerned. To your point, we should probably do that as well to the HS33. It's just that there's really not people buying stick meters, nowadays.
Yeah, they just not used very much. And I think that has a lot to do with those were nice when we didn't have anything else, but I think the industry's probably evolved past that phase where we need one meter with a whole bunch of different heads to measure all this stuff. Now we have the pressure probes and we have all the psychrometer probes and temperature clamp probes. Now we have that ability in each one of those to do it wirelessly and see all of that stuff at once on a single screen.
And a pretty important aspect of that too is it comes down to accuracy as well. You know, with equipment the way that it is, with the tolerances being so much tighter than they are now, when you have a stick meter and you plug on an accessory head, you not only have to deal with the accuracy plus or minus of the stick meter, but you also have to look at the accuracy plus or minus of the head that you're putting on.
Oh, right.
So like you have to add those together as like what your total min-max accuracy is. So it'll never be as accurate as a dedicated
Like a
clamp
single
meter
piece.
or a single tool.
Right.
And so
You
that's
sound like
reason,
Eric right now.
you know?
He's always preaching on that, you know, the plus and minus of this and that.
And if you take and put the leads in between the meter and the clamp or the meter and whatever, that adds an extra component of potential inaccuracy.
Variability. Yeah.
Because you can get extraneous signals.
There.
Yeah, you've got resistance in those leads, and you get extraneous signals coming into those leads between the meter. It's an uncontrolled piece because like fieldpiece can't control that.
Right.
They can't shield those leads. They can't do anything like that.
Yeah, but guys take care of their meters so good. So, you know, I mean, it should be no problem.
Nobody ever drops those or bangs them.
No.
I'm sure Tony's never had a broken meter come back. He's never seen that happen before.
Yeah.
Right.
No warranty. No.
Man, I'm not picking on anybody, but I've been in our warehouse and heard like the stories of what comes back. And like some of the weatherization companies will send in like DG1000s, which is a very expensive gauge, just covered in sheetrock mud. You know
Oh, yeah. The blower doors.
What?
just covered. Yeah. We're talking abused to the max. And I'm like when I was in the trade, I was one who I was very picky. Like my fieldpiece meter always went back in its pocket, right?
Right.
It always went in its tool bag in a certain spot. Like there's certain tools that got treated a little bit above all the rest. You know what I mean?
Everything over $100, you know?
Like,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I've seen, you know, working a distributor before, I've seen stuff come back in the tools wise, like, you know, there's places that will send a vacuum pump back in that I swear the guys just tied it behind their truck with an extension cord and drug it home. I'm like, what did you do to this?
What is the problem with the vacuum pump and the install crew? What is going on with these guys?
Do they have a competition at the end of the day?
Yes.
To see who can throw it in the truck from the most feet away from the truck? I don't know.
Did you see how long I dragged the vacuum pump behind my van this time? Like, dude, like it's missing feet. It's missing the handle. It's missing the electrical freaking switch.
Dude, I'll say in my early days, I'm not going to say I was legitimately rough on purpose, but I remember I had like a robin ear, and I can't tell you how many times I tied a slip knot to that thing on and then let it, you know, to the bottom of the floor from the roof it goes. You know what I'm saying? When it might have kind of hard landing. But
but you didn't just
come loose, like on the back end, the cover over the end bell of the fan would always come loose. Those machine screws would get loose, and I'd lose more. That thing was.
The point is, Chris, you tied a rope to it and you let it down gently. You didn't just drop it off the roof and see what happened.
Yeah. The guys I know buy trampolines and they leave the trampoline at the bottom of the place, right down off the damn building. Oh, it's good.
Yeah. I'm just
no wonder why my buddy at his shop, you know, hey, would the boss pay for tools? No, he's not paying for tools. You guys beat him up too much.
Well, there is a component to that, I think, that I've seen in the field. Like, if you own your own tools, you tend to take better care of them.
It's true. It's true.
You know,
well, I'll tell you, man, Tony, I'm going to throw you a bone here. When you guys created the fast swap oil change, I can't remember the model number.
Bro. What a game changer, bro.
I remember.
Holy smokes. That's what I got in my truck, man.
I was never so happy to see that. Because, like, I was one who changed my oil a lot. I know a lot of people probably don't, right? And like draining oil out of a robin ear, and you got that little thread, and it always leaks. It always leaks.
Yeah.
Different cap, and you're just like, you know, it's a pain in the butt.
Dude, it's crazy.
Was gold.
That was a game changer. Dude, my buddy sent me on a job where they installed a 7.5 ton commercial unit, and they had water in the line set. Bro, I
Tony.
changed that oil like 8 times. I went through a gallon of oil.
I want to know whose idea was that, Tony. Is
Yeah,
that your
come
idea?
clean with it.
So I mean,
We need to send that man a
this
thank you
is
card.
this is a perfect segue to what we're talking about because like the theme of this is how does a product get developed, right?
Yeah.
And Michael said something earlier about, like, when he thought of fieldpiece, he thought of, focused on HVAC, tools for HVAC. That's precisely how and why fieldpiece started. Like, the owner worked for a different meter company at the time in the late
really?
80s, and he was trying to get his bosses to make a meter that was specifically designed for the HVAC market because there was not one. There was not a meter that measured amps, volts, capacitance was one that was really rare back in the late 80s, early 90s. Temperatures and the ohms ranges just didn't fit what an HVAC technician would use. And so after a couple of years, he's just like, screw it. I'm gonna do this on my own. And
That's cool.
And it turned into fieldpiece. And so since that day, we are only focused on HVACR, right? So going back to the vacuum pump, oil changing, part of what the product development process is what problems out there, or what problems do technicians have? What are their pain points? Back when I was in product development, we did not have product managers. We did not have these different roles. You were the product champion and you did the market research. You went out into the field and you talked with technicians and you talked with contractors and you did ride-alongs and you rode around and you went to EPA 608 school and you did all of these things. Wow. And you had to come back with, okay, what are the requirements? What are the pain points? Basically, what is the job to be done? We're not developing a product. We're developing a solution. And if there is no problem, then there is no solution. So there has to be something that can be made easier, faster, or better. So when it comes to the vacuum pump, it was obvious that technicians were not changing vacuum pump oil as frequently as they should. And then let me ask you guys, why would technicians not change their vacuum pump oil as regularly as they should?
Because they don't have a micro gauge.
Oh, you took my head.
Because my boss taught me that you only have to change it once a year when the supply house has pump day.
Yeah, two smokes.
Two
smokes.
Change it. I don't smoke.
That's the problem. You got to start smoking if you're an HVAC. It's 2 smokes for a vacuum.
1 Jolly Rancher. It's 2 smokes. They're about
a Jolly Rancher. Holy! Do they even make Jolly Ranchers? They don't even make cigarettes anymore, too. So you got me.
Yeah, they make Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah. So like, really, what it comes down to is a lack of understanding of what the vacuum pump oil is there for. So I do many classes, and my team does many classes on system evacuation, and we ask the question, what is the function of the vacuum pump oil? Do you know what the number one response is that I hear from that? It is to absorb the moisture from the system. And that is not one of the 2 purposes of the vacuum pump oil.
Wow.
That is a byproduct of what occurs by way of evacuation, but that's not what the oil is there to do. The oil is there to provide lubrication to the machine, number one, but it's to provide sealing inside of the machine so that the vacuum pump can maintain a very low pressure inside of itself.
Oh, okay.
And so as the vacuum pump maintains a very low pressure, quote unquote, vacuum inside of itself, it creates a pressure differential at the system. And the greater you can maintain that pressure differential, the faster the moisture and the non-condensables are being pushed out of the system.
More of a pull. Okay.
So the problem is, Chris?
No, Geek. I got a follow-up question on that, but I'm going to let you finish.
Okay. So the problem is technicians are under the assumption that, well, if my vacuum pump turns on and it runs, it's fine. And it's true. You can run your vacuum pump for a very long time without changing the oil. Many people do it in the field nowadays. But what they don't understand is when they're not changing the oil, what that does is it limits the vacuum the pump can hold in itself. So the pressure starts to creep up inside of the pump, making that pressure differential smaller. So their evacuation is just taking a lot longer than it needs to, and they're wasting time in the field. But let me ask you this. You three, well, maybe not Chris, because he's made changes in his life right now, but how many of us know by a raise of hands
he's moving
that it's
on
important up. that it's important to eat well and exercise regularly every single day?
Oh, that's
how many of us know that
right
that's
there.
the case?
Well,
We all know it.
Yeah. Do I do it?
How many of us do it? Exactly. Right. But why is that? Well, why is that? Why don't we eat well every day? Why don't we exercise every day?
Because I got tired of having heartburn every night. It's the truth,
Right?
man.
It takes more time doing it right. And
It does take
you know,
more time.
Yeah.
It takes more time. It costs more, right? To be able to eat healthy. It takes more time to exercise. So it's the same thing here. When we came with the Run Quick oil change, we knew that this was something that was very important to help the technician finish the job faster, because that was our focus. How can we help them pull a vacuum faster? Well, oil is very important. They're not changing oil. How do we help them change the oil? Develop a way where they can change the oil without stopping what they're doing, without the mess, in less than 30 seconds, and people will change their oil. And it'll change the way they do their work. They'll get their evacuations done faster. And full circle, I'm landing the plane. That's how the Run Quick oil change
Just so awesome,
idea came about, is just understanding what is the job to be done and what are the pain points.
And give me a little window with some LEDs in there. I mean, come on, man. Whoever came up with that hit that home run, dude. I mean, that was a grand slam.
Absolutely.
I could see how milky the freaking oil is.
Dude, if your oil is milky, it's beyond needing to be changed.
Yeah, you guys killed it. Well, at that one job, dude, I would change it like a couple times. It was still coming back milky. It was bad.
The worst one I've ever done was a residential system, right?
Yeah.
But I used 2 gallons of oil.
Yeah, I went through a gallon, man. Yeah. Nuts.
That was back. I was using my old JB pump, right? And
so
set it up on a 5-gallon bucket, set another bucket underneath it. Milk, drain, fill, milk, drain, fill is like just a process.
How hard it is that little freaking screw, man. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I got a crazy story for you. I think I told this already. Oh, you had something to follow up. I'm sorry.
I got to get the follow-up question off before we get too far. Here's something. There's a piece to this I don't understand. I just never dug this deep. I understand the part that the oil creates a seal for the wipers in the vacuum, which allows it to create that pressure differential. The part that I've never understood 100% is, and I feel like Eric, your wife's gonna like sneak in, like be like, "This is the answer," you know. But when the water gets in with the oil, does the water sit lower than the oil, and that's why you don't get the seal? Like, why does the water
it's thicker
create the break in the barrier of the vacuum?
The water mixes with that, or the moisture. It's not liquid water at that point. It's moisture getting into the oil, and it changes the vapor pressure of that oil. And as that vapor pressure of the oil rises, it can't make that seal at the same pressure. So it allows things to come through it.
You threw down some big words there, Eric. Vapor pressure. But essentially, let's go back to layman terms. Like, where
that's a layman term. I can't like
that is the layman. You throw mayonnaise in there, you know. You don't get the seal right.
Yeah.
So I guess to try to make it even more layman's than that, if it's possible, is that vacuum pump oil is designed specifically to maintain a seal at a certain pressure
Yeah.
within the vacuum pump. And so when there's moisture that mixes with the oil, it changes the characteristics of the oil. And so now you
Right.
don't have the best suited pump to maintain
Right.
or the best suited oil to maintain a seal inside of the pump.
And I've got a feeling that oil is like really thin oil.
Well, I was gonna say it sounds like
So
what we did
medium.
from like 5W30 to like 10W30 essentially. Like maybe made the oil too thin, and now it's
Right.
you know
Think of it like with your motor oil. If you get if you get moisture in your motor oil, right, it's not going to have the proper viscosity to lubricate things.
Right. That's
It's
what I
going
was
to
getting
break
at.
down. So you can think of it that way, but it just doesn't seal that. It's not
Yeah,
chemically the same because you're getting the moisture mixed in with the oil. It
100%.
won't create a seal.
I think we've answered my question. I was curious if the water separated from the oil and then the water got like buried below where the seal happens, and that was the problem, or it actually mixed and created a new chemical and just diluted the oil to a point it just didn't make a seal.
If you let it sit, if you get enough water in the oil, because it doesn't take much moisture. Now we're talking about just vapor getting into the oil here. We're not talking about liquid water. That's a completely different ballgame. Now I have let vacuum pump oil set long enough. Like you get some of that really, really milky stuff. If you let it set long enough, that will separate, but you have to let it set. What you have in here is you've got oil in moving parts. So it's going to continuously keep that mixed up. It's not going to set, or it's not going to separate until you let it set in a still environment.
Gotcha. That sums it up. All right, go ahead,
Yeah.
Mike. Sorry.
So I probably told the story already, but remember the guy we had on for 500 square foot per ton, my old landscaper?
Yeah.
He hits me up one day. He goes, "Listen, I got this lady. She's an older lady. She lives by herself. Help her out." I was like, "All right, man." I drive down to it, like 20 minutes from our town here, and I was like, "Well, what's going on?" She's like, "Well, this unit hasn't been running for about a year. I'm having, long story, right?" So I decided to help her out, and unit didn't run for like about a year, legit. And I start pulling a vacuum on this unit with my old Robin Air, dude. And I take my gauges off, and the water is just shooting out. Dude, I got so much water in my old vacuum pump. It like almost blew it up. I left the job. I told her, I was like, "Listen, we need a new line set." I got the heck out of it. I had to go home and take the entire vacuum pump apart and wash it down with like alcohol or something. It was nuts. But if I would have had the field piece, I would just pull the cartridge out, run it through a couple of times. I wouldn't have to take this whole darn thing up. Dude, it was insane. She left it under, like with no refrigerant for so long that I guess the moisture from outside with the swamp humidity I live in, it just collected inside the unit. It filled up with water. It was nuts.
That can happen. So,
Dude.
Tony, I want to ask this. Like, we're talking about a product, that you kind of gave an overview there of how that product comes to life. Let's dig into some more of the in-depth steps of what it takes from concept to actual product on the shelf. Like, how long does that take sometimes? How long does it take to develop a product, and what are some of the other steps that go into that to putting that product on a shelf?
Yeah, so starting with your second question first, and then going back, the timeline in product development, as far as how we do it, is if it's a brand new product that we have not come out with before, then from the time that we commit to yes, we're doing this, to the time that it ships, it's about 18 to 24 months, right? That's the timeline for that. If it is an update to an existing product, depending on how significant the upgrade is, we're talking maybe 12 to 18 months, somewhere somewhere around there. But that's from the time that you kick off a project. There's a step where you talked about concept that comes before you even decide, yes, this is a product that we're going to do. And we call that step feasibility, right? Like how feasible is this product? Number one, it starts with the job. What is the job to be done? The story that I often tell recently is when Milwaukee sells you a drill, in their minds, they're not selling you a drill, they're selling you a hole. Okay. You are buying that drill because you're buying a hole. Now, a drill is one way that you can make a hole, but there's other ways, but they're just selling you a drill because what you're buying is a hole. So it comes down to how we think, what is the job to be done? And then what are the pain points in that job? So once you understand the pain points in that job, and we feel that there's a problem that needs a solution, then we'll start feasibility, right? So, can we create this product with existing technology? Maybe it's a sensor, maybe it's something different. Is there something that already exists now to fulfill or to solve that problem? Yes or no? If it's not, then is this something that we have to create like a whole new thing on our own? If it is, it doesn't mean we won't do it, but we're going to go in with our eyes wide open, knowing there is nothing that can solve this problem now. And we're going to dedicate ourselves to engineer a new technology to be able to achieve that. Then it goes into, value and positioning of the product. Like, who is this product for? What value does it provide to the user? And who is the target audience? So the easy way to say that is, we think about the 80-20. 80 is the like mainstream. If you look at all HVAC or technician contractors, I think the latest numbers now was 400 something thousand, give or take 50,000, whatever the case may be. You can't create one product for all of those people. It just doesn't work, right? But what data has shown over the years is you can kind of break it into the 80 versus the 20. Okay, so are you developing this product for the mainstream, for the 80% of the people, or are you developing it for the super elite, high end 20% of the industry? And so you have to position your product and know beforehand what you're trying to do with it in order to create a successful product. And then once you go through feasibility, we talk about it and we understand what are going to be the obstacles once we kick off dev of this product. We know where the obstacles are going to be. Obviously, there's a certain point of you don't know what you don't know, but one of our core values is upfront homework. So we do as much of our upfront homework before we even kick off the development of a product, so that the development of the product goes off a lot smoother, I guess I would say.
You do your homework, because I didn't even know we had 400,000 technicians. I mean, you got to be paying for that type of information somehow. That's pretty good.
Yes. So it all comes down to what's make fieldpiece so successful is just understanding the technician, understanding the job that needs to be done, and then creating a solution to an existing problem. You're never going to see.
That's how you guys got me. I knew you guys were just HVAC oriented. When I was out there starting new, I was like, these guys are focused towards my trade. That's the message you guys projected. And I was like, all right, I got to go, because I feel like if I went through another type of brand, it was, HVAC's always like a side type,
I think you got me by proxy, man. It was just you were in my distribution channel, right? Like my local Johnstone had it, and I needed it, and it just happened.
So now you're getting to another aspect of just what makes a successful business, right? Is one, you have to have a great product. But if you don't have the distribution behind a great product,
right,
it is tough sledding, right? And I'm sure,
especially early 2000s,
talking about.
You don't have Amazon, right? So you got to really getting cozy with the supply houses. You know, I mean, geez, when did True Tech Tools come about?
2007.
2007, right? So I
They
started 2004. It was like the Wild West, man.
They were born of frustration that a lot of the physical supply houses weren't carrying the advanced digital products.
Right.
And they, they don't, to their point, like that's a low percentage of their sales. So they don't focus on that a lot of times.
Yeah.
So,
And let me tell you, those smart probes, unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. How long did it take you guys to develop those, man? Those are just, man. Dude, I have the original ones.
So
And what did I replace on them? The one little, little air probe head, right? You guys sent that out to me. The magnets, you guys hooked me up. I mean, those things are solid, man. How long have the probe set been around? 2 years? 3 years?
No, the probe sets have been around. It's probably getting close to 10 years, 8 years.
it's
Oh,
been
really?
for at least, I would say, 6 years.
Yeah,
7 years.
one of my projects when before I started training, when I was a product developer, was the JobLink app. And so
Okay.
when I switched over to training, I was doing that project maybe for 5 years, 6 years. So the probes had to have been out at least that. Now you add 3 more years. Yeah, we're getting close to 10 years.
No way.
With those wireless probes.
Dude,
Tony,
time
here's
is flying by, man.
something I know you guys have dug into, and our company, we've dug into it a lot. And this is a huge differentiator, I think, is if you're a technician and you hear the word Bluetooth, there's Bluetooth saying, hey, this tool has Bluetooth. And then there's actually making it happen, like making that connectivity, researching the actual Bluetooth functionality work. It's not necessarily just like, hey, we made an app, here's a plugin, done, right? Bluetooth takes a lot of programming to make it work right. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys have crossed that bridge because there was like the early days of Bluetooth and where Bluetooth is now and how to work it. We went through tons of iterations of Bluetooth. Personally, me not experienced it, but I've heard it from our team. About how
That's
they
a
went
crazy journey right there.
Crazy journey.
So what people might not remember is what they know now as the current Bluetooth, like in the JobLink probes and their, crazy long range and all that. That technology was our third iteration of wireless technology in our tools. We had wireless built into our tools back in like 2005 when like we were using radio frequency. We were using radio frequency to be able to connect. One of those tools was that HVAC guide, Michael.
Yep.
That was
the guide? Really?
15 years ago. HG3, it had wireless built in.
Yes.
To where you can have these heads, and we came out with this wireless module that plugs into the bottom of your head. And that module sent the reading to your HVAC guide. Now, the range was about 100 feet. It wasn't like what we're talking about now, but that was our first iteration of wireless almost 20 years ago, right?
Dude, I called that my service manager in a can. That's what I called it. I was like, I don't have to call my service manager no more. HVAC guide was so cool. It would go through like a page of stuff. It was at the time, I mean.
You know what I wish? I wish Bluetooth technology had consumer-facing literature that told you what type of Bluetooth iteration you're working with. You know what I mean? Because you have Bluetooth tools and you have Bluetooth tools, and some.
Dude, that's blowing my mind.
Well, and it's like, how do you differentiate what type of Bluetooth is in that tool?
A lot of it does. If you look at the Bluetooth version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. And then technology's changed so much, man. I mean, what was the HVAC guide talking to? A phone or tablet or?
No. HVAC guide was just talking to that wireless module that was connected to the accessory head. Like,
gotcha.
There was no phone interaction to that.
Gotcha.
I mean, and if you think when they made that HVAC guide, Bluetooth, like if you had old Bluetooth headsets, right? The single ear thing that we put in here, right?
Yeah,
if you put the headset on one side of your body and your phone on your hip on the other side, you would lose connection.
Yeah.
You had to have the headset and the phone on the same side of your body.
Okay, I gotta put it on the other side. Yeah,
If
dude,
you
you're right, dude.
If you put them on opposite sides, like they would lose connection.
Dude.
And I mean, now we're looking at line
Yeah.
of sight 1,000 feet almost.
Dude, I'm sitting in the van with my iPad, and I got the I got the job link all the way in the backyard of this guy's house. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Tony, I got to ask you, man. When are you guys going to come out with the first HVACR technician communication headset? You know what I'm saying? Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some cool earbuds that last all day. Give me a solid 8 hours. I want them to play music when I want to. You know what I'm saying? And I want to be able to like flip the little thing out, make a phone call, talk to whoever I need to talk to, turn it off. You know what I'm saying? Give me all that functionality to where I don't have to.
So far, I haven't heard anything this specific to HVAC on that. That just sounds like a wireless headset.
No.
Right, Eric? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, here's how I will relate it. And
I thought he was gonna say I want to put 2 beers on the side of it with a straw. That's what I thought was coming
So
next.
he's got that temperature reference,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I'm serious. So here's what I'll tell you, Tony. I think
with the
there's a huge
subcool
problem.
clamp on it.
How many guys take their phones, their brand new expensive phones now, and they're throwing them right on top of the furnace saying, boom, speaker, talk to me, I'm working. And they're working while the phone's sitting there and they're sitting in the 135-degree attic baking. When they could be leaving that phone in the truck plugged up so it's got a full battery. They turn their headset on, their hands free. They're installing, wiring, doing all this stuff from a hands-free headset. I'm telling you, man, there's a market for that, and nobody's made, in my opinion, a robust one, right? You got the ones you run with and stuff like that, but there's no real technician headset.
Why can't you just use the one you run with?
I don't know, man. Here's why. Because like Tony was saying, there has to be a solution. Someone needs to go through what the needs are. And I think there's more needs that are going to be found that are needed than what you would just need for running, right? Like, I don't know, maybe more buttons, maybe a button that says, you know, you have, I would think it'd be cool, just throwing this out there. Everybody has probably 2 people they call all the time during the day. Maybe it's their boss, maybe they call their wife a whole lot or something like that, or tech support, right? Maybe those 2 buttons are programmed in on the headset and it's like, boom, you press that button, I'm directly calling. Maybe there's a walkie-talkie feature to where you got a guy outside and a guy inside, and you could put it in local mode. And
Oh my god, dude!
Right?
Flow to nitrogen. Let's go.
Bingo. That's what I'm saying.
You wiring the condenser in? Let's go.
They have
Dude,
that.
bring back Motorola in like a field piece helmet.
Nextel did that about
Be like,
20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Oh my god!
Nextel and a headset.
Did you wire in the low voltage, you idiot? Boop, boop.
Chris, they already have that.
They got it? What do they got?
It's motorcycle headsets.
Motorcycle headsets. All right.
Yeah.
But just put a field piece logo on it. We got it. Done. I like it. I actually like it. A 2-man install crew, little 2-way connectivity.
Here, man, I'm brainstorming.
I'm liking it. It was it you that made the video where they threw the recovery or the vacuum pump off the top of the roof?
I was part of that video, yes.
You're part of that video? I like that
I was
one.
part of that video.
I'm digging it. I'm like, they're not going to throw it off the roof. And they threw it off the roof.
I was supposed you could intercom with Apple Watches, but
Yeah, that's your stop.
am I doing it?
You guys are getting jerky with the screen.
I don't like Apple Watches, bro. I'm just gonna say it. No offense. I like my
know.
Garmin.
Chris is a Garmin guy. Whatever.
The problem is Chris doesn't like something that works. It's okay, Chris. We understand.
House is diehard Apple.
All over here. This is like take a stab at Chris night.
Apple Watch, baby.
That a way, House. That a way to represent.
Yeah. What you got
Oh,
there?
that's funny, man. That is funny. So, is anything new coming out with Fieldpiece? Did I miss something? I know you guys got the Shredded Core. New Shredded Core ones are cool as heck, man. I put that in like this. What is that little list in TrueTech Tools? It's like
Your wish list.
the wish list. That's the one.
Yeah.
I threw that, tucked it in there.
The wish
Yeah.
list on there.
Yeah, so the Michael, let me ask you, like, why do you think those are so cool?
Oh, dude, they're amazing. They got the sight glass, and then you got the ball valve on each side. That's what did it for me is a ball valve. So I could put the micron gauge on the side, and I don't have to worry about getting oil fouled up on the micron gauge. So that was killer.
Do you know what the most asked question I get when we talk to people about like the new VCRTs, valve core removal tools, is how come nobody thought of this sooner?
Yeah.
I
What I did was I had to buy two. So I bought two valve core removal tools, and I got to tee them up. It's kind of ridiculous. So, yeah.
Yeah. I figured most people would have said they'd have liked to seen the Schrader come through. You know what I'm saying? Like you could see it pass through. That'd be kind of neat. You know?
I mean, that's one nice thing about that sight glass out there.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You guys went over the top on that one. Just the ball valves would have done it for me.
Yeah. So if you break that down, what was the job? The job was to remove a Schrader valve from a service port on a pressurized system. Okay, cool. That's the job. What were the pain points? Well, one of the pain points is you had no way of knowing whether or not you grabbed that valve until you pulled out, the plunger rod, disconnected, closed your ball valve, and then you play the game of, did I get it? Yeah. Every technician knows that game that they play. Did I get it? Right? And you don't always get it on the first time. More than likely, you don't get it on the first try. So you are doing that 2 or 3 times. Not only are you wasting time, but every time you take off that back of your VCRT, you are releasing some refrigerant and you're putting air back into it every time you do that. So, So is there a way to make that job simpler? Well, if I can see whether or not I have it, then that solves that problem. That's where the sight glass comes from.
Yeah, that's cool.
The second thing is, people are connecting their micron gauge to that side port, and you don't want to charge it back up with your micron gauge still there because you expose your sensor to refrigerant. And it's not like the pressure is going to damage the sensor per se because the fieldpiece one is rated up to 800 PSI. But I mean, like overexposure to refrigerant and the oils is going to contaminate the sensor. And if you're not cleaning it regularly, it's going to affect the accuracy of your micron gauge. So what do technicians do now? They will either or if they're a good technician, they will have a second valve core removal tool that they will connect to that side port just to add the ball valve, or a ball valve fitting that they'll
which
put
is
on
another
there.
Leakage point.
Which is another leakage point, and it makes the tool physically larger.
Yeah.
And
and
sometimes space is a premium at these service ports, right? So if you just integrate the ball valve into the side port, it keeps
especially
the
on
tool
Goodman
smaller, and it takes away that extra leak point. So
Yeah,
again,
that's cool.
it goes back to what is the job? What are the pain points? How do you solve the pain points? Textbook example right there.
Definitely a pain point that needed to be solved. I'll tell you, I would always put my micron gauge on one side of the condenser, right, and put my vacuum on the other side. But I would always, I would break my vacuum with a little bit of refrigerant, just a little bit, just enough, right, to get it out of a vacuum, and then I take my micron gauge off. That was my strategy.
But I mean,
like hitting that sensor all the time.
How many mini split systems out there that only have one port on them are going in? You can't do that too, right?
Oh, good point, man. Good point. Yeah.
There's a ton of places out there to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, man. And every time I didn't get that traded core, my blood pressure would go up every time. It's like, come on.
So that's a blood pressure reduction.
Yeah. Yeah, you buy that thing just to reduce your blood pressure.
That's a good one, Michael. We might add that to the marketing bullet points on the package.
Throw it in the PDF at the bottom, right at the bottom.
This product is approved by the American Heart Association.
Yeah, the American Heart Association, Italian American Association.
Not really. Yeah. Let's not say that out loud.
For people with bad blood pressure, Are you easily pissed off? Yes. Okay. Well, buy our product.
Maybe this a product approved by Michael Cianfrocco.
Are you a little bit like James Gandolfini? You get pissed off on little things? All right. I'm telling you, dude, on the Appions, I had to undo the, you can't put it in there too difficult because that big O-ring squishes the Schrader pin. You could feel it when you're getting it out, and yeah, it's just a pain in the ass.
Tony, dude, wealth of knowledge, bro. Wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, and I love your story, man.
Yeah.
all the way up
Appreciate it. Thank you.
from high school, man. That's killer, dude.
Yeah. Good stuff, Tony. Tony, thank you for coming on the show, bro. We'll have to get you back on here.
Absolutely.
And-
Whenever you guys
and-
want.
And what's going on in a week? Because we're
What's going on
gonna
a week?
Chris and I are going to
HVAC
see Tony in
excellence.
another week. Yeah, HVAC
Yeah,
excellence. So if you're in Vegas, look Tony up. He'll be there. And me
Yeah.
and Chris, too. We'll be out there. Mike, you coming?
Heck no. The wife will kill me.